So I think we're live now.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Anna-Marie, and I work for Healthwatch Bury. We are delighted to host this live session today to raise awareness about smell and taste disorders. And we have a special guest with us today, Helen from Fifth Sense, who will share valuable insights into this condition and the impact on daily life and how people can get support as well. I will quickly go through some introductory slides and I will then hand over to Helen. I will try and share my screen. Can you see these okay?
Yeah.
Great. So just to run through some live stream guidelines, feel free to comment if you have any questions. We just ask you to be accepting, respect boundaries, don't be rude, don't flood the chat, don't self-promote, and please keep it clean. The session overview today is we going through some introductory slides, and I will then hand over to Helen from Fifth Sense, and at the end we will have a short question and answer session as well. Who are we? Healthwatch is your health and social care champion. We make sure NHS leaders and other decision makers hear your voice and use your feedback to improve care. And we can also provide you with information and advice. We can support you by signposting to local or online support groups and listen to your experiences of using health and care services in Bury. And these are our contact details. I will now stop sharing my screen. Just bear with me. And I will hand over to Helen from Fifth Sense. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. So I'm Helen. I work for the charity Fifth Sense. So there might be quite a few of you if you're watching this thinking, who are Fifth Sense? And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. I'm going to talk to you about smell and taste disorders, the impact they can have, and also how we can support you if you are living with any of those disorders. So just a little bit about the charity. So we were actually established in 2012 by Duncan and Professor Carl Philpott. Now, Duncan actually had a head injury 20 years ago. He lost his sense of smell and there wasn't anybody out there to help him. And through his research, he came across Professor Carl Philpott and they set the charity up to support people like him who may be living with a smell or taste disorder but struggling to get some support. So we actually cover 3 areas. So we have a support and information service, which I'll touch on a bit later on. We do education and engagement, which is the work that I do to raise our profile and raise awareness of what we do across the UK. And we also get involved in research as well. And our vision is we want to transform society's understanding of the importance of these senses. And in doing so, hopefully transform the lives of those that might be affected. And we specifically want recognition of olfactory dysfunction, which are smell disorders, to be seen as a long-term health condition, because at the moment they're not. So just to get people thinking, and there might be people out there that have experienced losing their sense of smell or having a smell disorder in particular. So when we talk about a neglected sense, we talk about smell, but this is about taste as well. Smell disorders are more common than taste disorders. But just getting people to think about, imagine if you're not able to smell smoke from fire, gas leaks or food that's gone off and the safeguarding concerns that can raise, but also the impact it can have on somebody's well-being and health, because how we engage with food, how we engage with drink, how we engage with the outside world, and how we bond with partners, children and friends, they are all linked by smell. So what we're doing as a charity is I'm there to reach out to other charities that might be supporting people that are living with a smell and taste disorder. So charities like the Alzheimer's Society, the Stroke Association, Age UK, to name a few. We are working with more and more local health watches across England. So this is, I think, our 6th or 7th engagement session with a Healthwatch team and their audience, but we're reaching out to more and more across certain parts of the UK. Working with and supporting underserved communities, working with long COVID teams. That's how we started with these sessions, and other NHS departments, because there is really no training on this topic unless it's your specialist subject in the NHS. Part of the work I do as well is to raise awareness around gas safety, priority services register, and services beyond the meter. And again, I'll talk about those in a bit more detail. But we're also now starting to build in-person community groups, so social action groups across England in certain locations as well, to help get people together in person, not just online. So a little bit about smell and taste disorders. So you can have a smell disorder or an olfactory dysfunction and still taste. You can have a taste disorder and still smell, or you can have both, but they're not actually connected. So to go through the different types of smell disorders. So anosmia is your complete inability to smell, something that certainly people who had COVID may have experienced. Hyperosmia is when you have a reduced ability to smell. And then the next three have become more common because of long COVID, but actually have always been around as well. So parosmia are distorted smells. So this is where you can smell, but things don't smell like they should do, and what they smell like can be really unpleasant. So we have examples of people that when they go to a barbecue, the smell of the food can smell like sewage, or when they smell somebody's perfume, it could smell like burnt rubber. So it's where you can smell, but those smells are so unpleasant, they can actually make people feel physically sick, and it can then affect the flavour of their food as well. Phantomosmia, so phantom smells, so people talking about I can smell smoke, but nobody else can. I know somebody that had long COVID and had the permanent smell of burnt toast in their nose. And then hyperosmia is high sensitivity to smells, especially applicable to people that who are neurodivergent, where the things smell like they should do, but they're really strong. So things like coffee, onion, garlic, red meat, quite common, but it can be any smell. Again, to the point where those smells are so strong, it can make people physically ill. And then you have your taste disorders. So there are 2 on here, but you can have all 5 disorders that you have in smell, you can have in taste. So distorted tastes, inability to taste, reduced, high sensitivity, and phantom taste as well. So a little bit around smell, taste, and flavour to help people understand the impact of smell and taste loss. So roughly where that star is, that's where your olfactory bulb is. And when you smell through your nose, that smell goes up to your bulb, and that's where you get your smell from. Then what we have in our tongue are our taste buds, which are separate to our olfactory bulb. So in our taste buds, we have sweet, salt, sour, bitter, and umami or savoury. So they are separate to the way that you smell. Now, when we eat food, you may or may not be aware, or when we drink something, when we chew that food and swallow it, or when we swallow that drink, we are actually smelling it through the back of our throat, and it's called retronasal olfaction. So what happens is when we can't smell, when we are chewing that food or taking that drink, we can't smell the food as we are chewing it or swallowing it, and therefore we don't get any flavour from our food, because that is where we get our flavour. So the best way to describe this is if you can't smell at all and you take a cup of coffee, you can't smell the coffee just before you drink it. As you swallow it, you don't smell the coffee, so you don't get the coffee flavour. But if your taste buds are working, what you might get is the bitterness of the coffee bean, or if you have sugar in your coffee, you'd get the sweetness of the sugar in your coffee, but you won't get any flavour. So if somebody's smell has gone completely, or it's reduced or impaired, it affects the flavour of our foods. And the best way to describe it is we taste, but we smell our flavours. And I'll touch again a bit later on as to how that can change the way people engage with food. So common causes. So I've already mentioned COVID, but COVID is the one that sort of brought these disorders to the forefront. But any viral infection, any cold, any flu can cause somebody's smell or taste to become impaired or reduced or disappear. We have people that are members that have had flu and their sense of smell has gone and never come back. Sinonasal disorders and allergies, chronic rhinosinusitis, they can cause people's smell and taste to change, smell in particular. Head injuries, Duncan, our chief exec, had a head injury 20 years ago. His sense of smell went, has never come back. That can be quite common for people living with head injuries. Aging process, unfortunately, like our eyesight and like our hearing, our sense of smell and taste can diminish with age, and potentially 1 in 4 people over the age of 65 may have some sort of smell or taste disorder due to the aging process. But we don't regularly test our sense of smell or taste like we do our eyesight and our hearing. Certain medications, certain operations, certain cancer treatments, they can cause changes to smell and taste. Certainly, certain cancers like tongue cancer, head and neck cancers, and the treatment you have for those can change taste in particular. As I said, taste disorders are less common than smell disorders because it's harder to damage that part than it is the olfactory bulb. Neurodegenerative disease, so loss of sense of smell can be the first early warning, early symptom of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and can happen many years before some of the other symptoms. I was presenting to a Parkinson's group yesterday, and quite a lot of them realised that actually they lost their sense of smell. One of them, it had been 20 years, their sense of smell had gone first before the more obvious signs are of Parkinson's. Exposure to toxins, so firefighters. There was a survey done with Chicago firefighters in America, and due to the exposure they have to toxins, when they tested their sense of smell, nearly 50% of them had some sort of smell disorder. People that survive stroke, it's very common for changes to smell and taste. Epilepsy. There's actually lots of reasons out there that we don't know about. So there are people that may have a smell or taste disorder and we just don't know why, and that's called idiopathic. And that is, again, down to the fact there's not as much research done in this area. And then there are actually people that are born without potentially a sense of smell or taste or both, and we call them congenital. And for them, it's very different because they don't actually know what they've lost. They don't know what they're missing. So how they feel about that and the impact it has on their life can be quite different. So what's some of the impacts this can have on people if they're affected by these sensory impairments? And a lot of these do link to smell. You can't smell a gas leak if you can't smell, or if you have an impaired sense of smell, you may not struggle to smell a gas leak, or if it's distorted, you may not realise it's the smell of gas that's there. People may stop doing things that they enjoy, hobbies they love doing that involve smell, even to the point of, that doing the gardening, going out and enjoying walks. If you don't get anything from the environment because your smell's affected, it can change how you engage with the world and the hobbies that you might do. If you have somebody that's got cognitive impairment and they turn the gas on and forget to light it and walk away, again, a bit like a gas leak, if their smell's impaired or not there at all, they may not smell the gas coming out. Cleaning, fumes come off cleaning products. Now you smell that if you can smell, but if you can't or your smell's impaired, then you might not realise how strong those fumes are. You might see changes to personal hygiene from somebody becoming really anxious because they're worried that they smell because they can't smell themselves, or you might see that in the reverse where people don't notice that actually the hygiene may not be as good as it could be because they can't smell themselves. So coming back to flavour and taste, and coming back to just food generally, you can't tell if your smell's impaired or you can't smell at all, and say a piece of chicken has gone off. Normally it's the smell that hits you first. You don't get visual signs. Same with milk. So it's quite common for people to give themselves food poisoning if they have a smell disorder, and sometimes the dates on food aren't a foolproof way of knowing. If you can't smell, as I mentioned earlier, or you have a smell disorder, it can change the flavour or mean that you get no flavour at all from food. But if your taste buds are working, and as I said, they're not connected, so a lot of the time your taste buds potentially will still be working, what they are then drawn to is they'll suddenly develop a really sweet tooth, or suddenly be drawn to really salty foods like crisps, but not be bothered about what flavour they are, or drawn to processed foods because there's a lot of sugar in there, or there's a lot of salt in there because they're highly processed. So it can change how people engage with food, what they eat, and it can almost lead them to have a more unhealthy diet. For some people, certainly if they're living with parosmia, where they've got distorted flavours and therefore food tastes really unpleasant. Some people stop eating altogether, and if their taste buds aren't working as well, again, they might just stop eating altogether because food just gives them no pleasure, they get nothing from it. Can't smell if something's burning. But also our sense of smell is the most closely linked sense to the part of the brain that triggers our memories. So without our sense of smell, or with a distorted sense of smell, it might mean that memories don't get triggered when you smell certain, like you do if you smell grass, you suddenly think about spring, or at Christmas there are certain smells that trigger memories. So you lose that ability as well. So it's free to join to become a member. So you can become a member if you are affected by a smell and taste disorder, if you're a professional that supports people that are living with smell and taste disorders, or if you are supporting somebody yourself that has a smell or taste disorder. So we've got over 9,000 members now. We did a survey, and this is what they told us. 92% of them have said that their enjoyment of food and drink has been reduced. 85% said they fear exposure to dangers like gas or spoiled foods. 61% have experienced depression or anxiety due to their smell or taste disorder. And for some people, a smell and taste disorder might also be just an additional health issue they have, so that can compound how they're feeling. And 54% said it's actually affected their relationship with their friends and family. A lot of that is down to lack of understanding around the impact that a smell or taste disorder can have on somebody's life. So some hints and tips, and I know some of these links have been shared as well, how to stay safe and warm and independent. So thinking about gas and fire and carbon monoxide to a point, although that doesn't have a smell. If you have a smell disorder, you are classed as vulnerable. There are lots of other reasons why you can be classed as vulnerable, but the Priority Services Register is a free service available to people that have a smell disorder, but there are other reasons as well why you can register on this. And what that means is that if you have a power cut, or you have suddenly you have no gas supply or no water supply, you are given priority over other people that aren't on the register, that aren't classed as vulnerable. So that's an important thing for anybody to look at, and there are many reasons you can go on that. You can also arrange for a free locking cooker valve. So if you have somebody in the house that turns on the gas, forgets to light it, walks away, especially if you can't smell the gas coming out, you can have locking cooker valves fitted for free by Cadent, the gas distribution network. And that again is another link that I've sent through. So that's something else that you can have as well. Smoke detectors obviously are important. Carbon monoxide, there is no smell, but if you have gas in the house, having carbon monoxide detectors fitted is really important, but also a natural gas detector. Now, these aren't as readily available at the moment, but you can get them online. They're relatively inexpensive, but if your smell is impaired or you can't smell at all, it's really important to have something that will tell you if there's a gas leak in your home to avoid any dangers there. And then the other thing is to make sure your gas appliances are in good working order and safe to reduce the chances of a gas leak. So this is another service that Cadent offer that you may not be aware of. And again, I've sent the links through. It is means tested, but it's not a very strict means test. It's called Services Beyond the Meter. And if you qualify and you are a homeowner, or you have you own your own gas appliances, if you're in rented accommodation, it's a free gas servicing, annual gas servicing that Cadent offer if you meet criteria. So it means you keep your appliances safe, but they can also look at how you can keep your bills down and things like that as well. So that's also something worth looking at to see whether you meet criteria to keep your gas appliances safe and save you some money. So what else do we do as a charity? So once you're a member, you get invites to our online monthly peer support groups where people come together. So we meet with people that have lost their sense of smell completely. We pull people together that might have distorted smell. We bring together people that have no memory of ever being able to smell, and we link taste into that as well. So that's where people come together and support each other online, and we have lived experience experts on that. We have an information and support service that is run by my colleague Mags, and she mans our inbox, and that's the way that you can get support and guidance and advice through the information inbox as well. We don't have an inbound phone service because we're small, but Mags is there to support people We have a whole array of different information sheets depending on how you may have become acquired anosmia or have parosmia or have a taste disturbance, including lots of recipes on how you can engage with food in a different way, and also an information sheet on how you can go and talk to your doctor to get your doctor to take you seriously rather than do what we call the shrug and go, oh, it's just your sense of smell, it's just your sense of taste. We can help you engage with your doctor to get a referral if you need it. We have a YouTube channel with lots of really useful YouTube videos on, including all the medical sessions that we do, and just generally there's information on our website, and as a member you get research updates and newsletters as well. So thank you for listening to me. That's sort of my whistle-stop tour of smell and taste. Hopefully that's helped you, given you some information you didn't have before, but we are there as a charity to help you. So if you need any support, reach out to us, and I'm there to deliver these sessions to anybody that will listen to me, really, so we can raise our profile and raise awareness and get more help.
Oh, thank you so much. That was really, really helpful. I learned a lot from this. So yeah, it was really interesting. Thank you. There we do have a couple of questions, and I know some of it you've already covered. But I
Yes.
will go ahead and ask them anyway, just
Yeah.
in case there's anything else, any other advice you might have. So the first question's around what advice would you give to patients struggling with these disorders? I mean, I know you already mentioned the peer support,
Yes.
and there's some helpful recipes out there, and things like that. But I don't know if there's anything else that might be helpful to share.
I think the thing I would say is if you are living with a smell or taste disorder and you're not a member, join, because we're here to help you. If you haven't been to your doctor and you're thinking, I want to go and talk to my doctor about it, engage with us first and we can help you so that hopefully you can get the right response that you need from your doctor. But because they don't have training on this, it's not their priority. It's not classed as a long-term health condition, even though it has that impact. We can help you engage. But the biggest thing I can say is join, talk to us, because you're not alone. You'd be really surprised how many people they think, potentially 1 in 6 people have some sort of smell or taste disorder in the UK. So they're high numbers, but no one talks about it. And once you do start talking about it, you realise you're not alone. And I think that's the biggest thing a lot of our members say. They suddenly go, I thought it was just me, and it's not. It affects quite a lot of people.
That's great. Oh, thank you. So if anybody does want to join, would they contact you directly? Go on the website?
Just go onto the website and there'll be links on there. So, and when you join, you can either join as a supporter or a professional, or you can join as somebody that is living with a smell or taste disorder. But if you're not sure, you can email the info inbox email address, and Mags will be able to help you through the process.
That's great. Thank you. So I've got another question as well here. Are there any lifestyle changes that potentially can help improve taste and smell functions?
So it depends, because obviously there's so many different ways that you may develop a smell or taste disorder. The one thing that can make a difference to how you smell and how you taste is smoking. So not smoking can help improve your smell and taste if it is affected. There are things you can do if you already have a smell and taste disorder. Certainly if it's post-viral or a head injury. So there's something called smell training that you can do each day that might help improve it. And actually doing smell training, if you don't have a smell and taste disorder, can almost just be a bit of an exercise for your smell to keep it in good working order. So they're the sort of things you can do. And the things that everybody talks about, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, because some of the things that can cause you to get a smell or taste disorder have happened because of unhealthy lifestyle. So, general advice around just, being healthy.
That's great. Thank you. I think there's only one more question. That's more from in terms of perspective of the family and friends and carers. How can family and friends support someone with a taste or smell disorder? Is there anything that carers can do to kind of help people who
So
have
again, the first one I'd say is join Fifth Sense as a supporter, because you can then start to understand. So just trying to understand about the impact you can have on somebody's life, coming along to the peer support groups. When I first started with the charity, although I'd lost my sense of smell when I had COVID, it came back and then I didn't think about it again. Then when I started working for the charity, I joined the peer support groups to listen to how people talk about the impact it has on their lives and what things they do to try and live with it in a better way. So joining Fifth Sense and attending some of those can really help you get a really good understanding of the impact. So like improving your knowledge, they would be the key things really. And just not dismissing it and thinking, well, it's just a sense of smell. It's actually, it can affect so many parts of your life. So it's really important to just help, accept that, yes, it has a big impact on their life.
Oh, thank you. That's been really helpful, and what a great organization to
Thank you.
to
Thank
listen
you.
from, hear from as well. Thank you very much for that.
That's okay. Thank you.
Bye for now. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.